What if everything you were taught about being nice was designed to make you weak? From the moment you could speak, you were taught to be nice. Smile, share. Don't raise your voice. Don't make others uncomfortable. You were praised for being agreeable, quiet, forgiving. And somewhere deep inside, you learned a dangerous rule that being liked was more important than being respected. It starts early. You give your toy to avoid a fight. You say, "Sorry," when you're not wrong. You keep the peace, even when your boundaries are violated. You become the good one, the one who never causes problems. And for a while, that gets you approval. Applause, temporary comfort. But then you grow up, and suddenly that same niceness becomes a leash. People take advantage of your time, your silence, your kindness. You say yes to things that drain you. You let disrespect slide because you don't want to seem rude. You forgive too fast, stay too long, give too much, and no one stops you because you trained them not to. The world doesn't see your goodness as strength. It sees it as access. Machiavelli knew this centuries ago. He understood that in a world driven by self-interest, being overly kind doesn't earn you respect. It paints a target on your back. He would have looked at the modern nice guy and said, "Wake up. You think you're safe, but you're the easiest one to manipulate." The truth. Niceness without boundaries isn't virtue, it's vulnerability. It tells every opportunist, here is someone who won't fight back. The people you fear offending. They don't fear exploiting you, the ones you protect at your own expense. They won't hesitate to drain you if you keep offering. You weren't born to be a doormat. You weren't put here to be agreeable. You're not here to be everyone's comfort zone. You're here to walk with presence, to speak with weight, to say no without apology, to set standards that protect your peace. The world doesn't reward self-erasure. It rewards self-respect. So the next time you're praised for being nice, pause and ask, are they praising your kindness or celebrating how easy you are to use? Because the cost of being too nice is your power. And once that's gone, what's left is not a hero. It's a servant in a world that only respects kings. What if the world isn't broken? It's just brutal by design. You've been taught your whole life to believe in goodness, that if you do the right thing, stay kind, stay humble, people will reward you, that the world will somehow. Niccolo Machiavelli never believed in that fairy tale. He didn't write for the good-hearted. He didn't write for the dreamers. He wrote for those who wanted to survive and win. In his eyes, stop being good. That man was destined to be dominated in the Machi of not. To be good? Not because cruelty is better, but you'll be devoured. History proved him right. The men who rose to power weren't the most loving. They were the most calculated. They weren't obsessed with fairness. They were obsessed with control. And while the nice guys waited for recognition, the Machiavellians seized it without asking. But Machiavelli would say, stop being prey. It's not about abandoning your soul. Machiavelli didn't reject morality because he was cruel. He rejected it because he was awake. What if the world was never meant to be? You grew up thinking the world was some kind of moral stage, where good actions bring good outcomes, where people do the right. But somewhere along the way, the illusion started to crack. Maybe it was the friend who used you, the boss who took credit for your work, the relationship where your kindness was mistaken for weakness. And slowly, painfully, the truth revealed itself. The world does not operate on idealism. It runs on self-interest, ambition, and power. It's not governed. No, Machiavelli understood this long before most dared to say it out loud. He looked at the world not as it should be, but as it is. He saw that assuming the best in people leaves you open. This doesn't mean you should become cruel, but it does. Because if you keep waiting for the world to, you have to stop treating life like it's a story with a guaranteed happy ending. It's a competition, a negotiation, a constant recalibration of power and perception. The good guy doesn't always win. The most selfless people often lose. And the ones who survive, they do so not through purity, but through clarity. That clarity is the foundation of power. It says, I see you. I see the game. And I choose to play it with my eyes wide open. Machiavelli didn't glorify brutality, he just refused to lie about it. And maybe it's time you did the same. What if your kindness isn't earning you love? It's earning you contempt. You've been taught to be kind, to give second chances, to make room for people's chaos, to be the one who understands, who forgives, who never makes others uncomfortable. You thought this would make people love you, respect you. You thought that by being endlessly available, you'd become invaluable. But somewhere along the way, you started to notice something. They stopped saying, "Thank you." They started expecting it. They stopped appreciating your time because now they assumed they owned it. That's the cruel irony of kindness without limits. It doesn't inspire loyalty, it invites entitlement. Machiavelli understood this dynamic deeply. He would have told you that excessive kindness, especially when offered without cost or condition, does not elevate you in the eyes of others. It reduces you. It makes your value seem automatic, and in a world that respects what's scarce, nothing is devalued faster than what's always available. Think about it. The people who command the most respect in your life, are they the ones who always said yes, who bent every time someone pushed? Or are they the ones who had boundaries, the ones who made you earn their presence, their trust, their time? When kindness becomes your default, when you give not because it's wise, but because you're afraid to say no, you're no longer being kind. You're being complicit in your own depletion. And here's what no one wants to say. People don't respect weakness. They may use it. They may flatter it, but deep down, they don't admire it. And when your kindness lacks discernment, when it's given to those who haven't earned it, it quietly becomes weakness. Worse, people begin to resent you for it. Why? Because your kindness removes the challenge, the mystery, the sense that your presence means something, and what is always easy is never valued. Machiavelli would have advised you to weaponize kindness. Use it as a tactic, not a personality. Be kind when it serves a purpose. Be generous when it creates advantage, but never let your goodness be your identity, because identity without boundaries breeds contempt. And in a world that rewards control, the person who gives without limits isn't seen as noble. They're seen as naive. What if kindness isn't the problem, but the way you've been taught to use it is, kindness in its purest form is a beautiful thing. But when you give it blindly, constantly, and without discernment, it ceases to be beautiful and starts becoming a liability. The truth is, kindness is only powerful when it's intentional, when it's controlled, when it's part of a broader strategy, not a desperate reflex. You were likely raised to believe that kindness is always the right answer. That if you just give enough, serve enough, forgive enough, people will eventually see your worth. But has that really been your experience? Has your unwavering kindness brought you loyalty, respect, power? Or has it left you overlooked, overextended, and quietly resentful? Machiavelli never preached cruelty for cruelty's sake. He wasn't advocating for coldness, he was advocating for clarity. And when he said, "A ruler must learn how not to be good," what he meant was this: you must learn to apply goodness strategically, not compulsively. To Machiavelli, constant kindness is not a virtue, it's a weakness. It exposes you, it invites people to see you as soft, pliable, someone who can be leaned on endlessly without consequence. And in a world where everyone is fighting for position, the overly kind are not cherished, they are consumed. Strategic kindness, on the other hand, is a power move. It's when you choose when to be generous, you calculate when to show mercy. You offer your warmth when it creates loyalty or strengthens your influence, not when it drains you for the sake of appearances. Think of kindness as currency. If you hand out money to everyone who asks, people don't admire you, they exploit you. But when you give purposefully, when you invest it in places where it grows, where it earns interest in the form of respect, trust, or alliance, then your kindness becomes powerful. The same is true with your energy, your attention, your forgiveness. If you offer them without boundaries, they will lose their impact. But when you reserve them, when people know they must earn your generosity, every act of kindness you give begins to matter. It's not about becoming cruel. It's about becoming measured, because real power is not in how often you give. It's in how clearly you choose when and to whom you give. Constant kindness becomes noise. Selective kindness becomes signal. And here's the uncomfortable truth. People may smile at you when you're endlessly nice, but they only respect those who set limits. They only follow those whose generosity comes with presence, power, and purpose. So the next time you feel the impulse to please everyone, to fix everything, to say yes, just to keep the peace, pause and ask yourself, is this kindness, or am I just afraid to be misunderstood? What if all your sacrifice has bought you nothing but silence? You've given so much, your time, your patience, your energy. You've said yes when your heart whispered no. You've stayed when you should have walked away. You've sacrificed your own needs, your own peace, your own growth, just to keep others comfortable. And what did it earn you? Did the world applaud? Did they protect you when you were down? Did they honor your sacrifices, or did they forget them? This is the painful truth most people refuse to face. Moral sacrifice does not guarantee respect. It often invites irrelevance. You can pour yourself into people, into causes, into the illusion that goodness alone will be rewarded, and still find yourself dismissed, overlooked, or even resented. Because the world doesn't operate on a system of spiritual reimbursement. It doesn't remember your kindness like a ledger. It remembers your strength, your presence, your boundaries, your ability to say no and mean it. Machiavelli saw it with unflinching clarity. He knew that the ruler who tried to be loved more than feared would be swallowed by rivals, that the man who gave too much too often without demand or return would become a tool, not a leader, and eventually tools are discarded. This doesn't mean that sacrifice is meaningless, but it must be calculated. It must be earned by the ones you give it to. Otherwise, you're throwing gold into an ocean and expecting it to float back. The world respects strength because strength protects. It defends, it builds. People trust those who can hold the line, not those who erase it to avoid confrontation. If you're always bending, always accommodating, always sacrificing without standard or limit, you disappear into the background. And the most tragic part, you trained them to treat you that way. So ask yourself, am I giving to feel noble, or because I'm afraid to be seen as selfish? Because in the end, the ones who are respected aren't the ones who serve endlessly. They're the ones who know when to stop, the ones who give because it means something. What if your obsession with being liked is the very thing making you invisible? There's a silent addiction that poisons millions, and it's not drugs or money or power, it's approval. The desperate need to be liked, the quiet hunger to be accepted, the compulsion to shape yourself into whatever version of you will make others nod, smile, and say, "He's a good guy." But here's the brutal truth. The more you try to be liked, the less you are respected. You start filtering every word, every decision, every boundary through the question, will they still like me after this? And slowly your edge disappears. Your truth gets watered down. You become agreeable, but not powerful. Pleasant, but not memorable. People don't follow the man who begs for approval. They follow the one who doesn't need it. The one who walks into the room like he owns his space. The one who says no without explanation. The one who can lose applause and still stay rooted in who he is. Machiavelli understood this. He believed that leadership demands clarity, not likability. Influence doesn't grow from being soft. It grows from being certain. He would have told you, stop chasing love, start commanding respect. Because here's what approval seekers never understand. People aren't drawn to those who try to please them. They're drawn to those who anchor them, to those who set the standard, not bend to meet it. And that kind of presence only comes when you let go of the fear of being disliked. Yes, people will misunderstand you. Yes, some will walk away, but those who remain will respect you. Not for how much you gave, but for how deeply you stood your ground. So stop molding yourself to every room you enter. Let the room mold around you. Stop explaining your decisions to people who don't share your vision. Stop asking permission to be who you are. Because the man who needs constant validation will always belong to others. But the man who commands respect, he belongs to himself. What if every time you bend, you're teaching them to break you? You think saying yes makes you generous. You think keeping the peace makes you noble. You think being flexible makes you likable. But ask yourself this: when was the last time someone respected you more because you had no boundaries? When was the last time bending over backward actually built a stronger connection? The truth is, the more you bend, the more people assume you have no spine. And once they believe that you stop being a person, they see you as a resource, a convenience, a tool they can reach for when it suits them, and toss aside when it doesn't. This is how respect dies, not in dramatic betrayals, but in quiet compromises. You make every day just to be liked. Machiavelli wouldn't have pitied you. He would have warned you: every time you yield, you shrink. Every time you soften a boundary, you surrender power. And in a world driven by dominance and positioning, that's not kindness, it's submission. Respect isn't earned by pleasing people. It's earned by resisting them. The ones who are respected the most aren't the loudest, the friendliest, or the most accommodating. They're the ones who are clear, who know where the line is, who make others pause before asking too much. Because when you have boundaries, you have weight. You create gravity. You become someone whose time, energy, and presence are not given freely but earned. Let them call you difficult. Let them call you cold. Let them whisper that you've changed. That discomfort they feel, that's called recalibration. Because for too long you trained them to believe your availability was permanent, that your forgiveness was endless, that your yes was automatic. No more. You don't exist to make people comfortable. You exist to walk in truth, and your truth has limits. Your time has value. Your energy has a price. So stop apologizing for your standards. Stop bending to be liked. Start standing to be respected. Because the ones who matter won't fear your boundaries. They'll honor them. And the ones who don't, they were never worthy of your yes in the first place. Yes, in the first. Stop being liked. Start being respected. In life, we're taught that kindness guarantees connection, that if we just say yes enough times, stay humble, avoid conflict, and put others first, we'll earn loyalty, love, and recognition. But the real world doesn't reward unfiltered kindness. It exploits it. People don't value what's always available. They don't respect what bends at every request. And if you're constantly adjusting yourself to be more likable, more agreeable, more accommodating, you're not building bridges. You're burning through your identity. Respect isn't built by pleasing others. It's built by protecting yourself. It means saying no, even when it's uncomfortable. It means enforcing boundaries, even if it offends. It means walking away from people who take more than they give, without explanation, without guilt. You don't need to be heartless, but you do need to be clear, strategic, selective. Because when you stop being emotionally available to everyone, when you stop explaining your worth, when you stop giving, without return, you stop being used, and you start being seen. So the next time you hesitate to draw a boundary, ask yourself, am I afraid of losing them, or am I afraid of finally choosing me? Power begins the moment you stop begging for respect and start commanding it.